DreAllDay.com.
Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. WorkOnYourGameUniversity.com. Topic of this video is fear is a reaction, courage is a decision. And what I'm doing here, obviously, as you can tell, we're drawing a comparison between these two things, both of which everybody who's listening to this is familiar with. But fear is an emotional reaction. And courage, you could say, is somewhat of an emotion, but courage is much more of a mental thing. It's much more of a decision, which it may happen immediately, which makes it maybe feel like an emotion, but it's much more of a choice. Courage is a choice, whereas fear is something that is just a, like I said, instinctive and emotional reaction. But both, interestingly enough, are based on our conditioning. They both get based on conditioning. So what is fear? Fear is the energy that you have when something is perceived as a threat, or something that you perceive may be painful or just bad in some way. That's how we feel fear. And fear is wired into all of us as human beings. Fear is a good thing in many ways because it keeps us alive. It goes back to the caveman days, as they say, whereas when we came across an animal, we had to decide quickly if this animal was a threat to kill us, or if it was friendly, or something otherwise. If we came across some berries or some fruit in the wilderness, we had to decide or make a snap decision, not a snap decision, but a good decision as to whether or not we could eat the berries and survive, or if we ate the berries, they were poisonous and we would die. We came across another caveman. Is this caveman trying to kill us, or is he friendly? So this fear is wired in us because it's evolutionary, because if you made a bad decision based on these judgments, then you didn't survive, and therefore you couldn't procreate, and therefore we wouldn't have made it to this day. The people who made bad decisions based on what our instincts were telling us. So fear is a good thing because it keeps us alive. The challenge is, in the world that we live in today, most of us are not facing life or death threats. However, we still have this wiring inside of us, so we often look at things through this fight or flight response mechanism, or some people have also added freeze. So you have fight or flight or freeze, these response mechanisms based on our wiring going back to the, as they say, the caveman days, and we had to do something with that energy. So when we get into these energies where we feel that fight or flight, we have a choice to make. When the fear hits you, it's not a matter of whether or not it happens to you, because fear can happen to everybody. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is a decision to act in the face of fear. So even though you feel fear, even though you feel like something may be a threat, even though you feel like you could be harmed, even though you feel like something negative could occur or happen to you, you're willing to take action anyway. That's what courage is about. That's what having courage means. It means, okay, I note that this could go wrong, this may be bad, this thing or person could possibly hurt me, but you know what, I'm going to step forward, or I'm going to stand my ground, I'm going to take the action that I need to take anyway. And that is a choice that you get to make, because there's a thought process that has to happen in order for that to occur. Whether that thought process happens right there in the moment when the fear first hits you, or when the outside stimulus occurs in front of you, or if this is something that you have prepared yourself for ahead of time. So for example, if you're a fighter, you're in a fighting sport like UFC or boxing, and you know going into the fight that the person that you're about to fight has the ability to knock your head off and knock you out, but you still get into the ring. So you're mentally getting yourself prepared for this reality before you even get into the ring, because you know that this could happen. So you can prepare yourself ahead of time for these situations. So anything that you know is coming that could possibly put you into this state of fight or flight or freeze, you can start mentally getting yourself ready for it before it even occurs, so that when it does occur, you've already gone through it in your mind so many times that you're ready to deal with it. And this is what many people who seem to be unshakable in the face of fear, or they seem to be very solid even when the situation in front of them can be untenable. The reason why they're able to do that is either A, they've gone through the situation many times already, like they literally have been through it many times. Like a fighter who's been in 100 fights, they've been in 100 fights. So fight number 101, they're not as nervous as somebody in their first fight because they've been in this situation before. Or B, a person has already rehearsed in their mind what it's going to look like and feel like, so they're not so shaken by the situation because they've been there before already. So it doesn't bother them so much that the situation is occurring because they've already rehearsed it in their mind so many times. And ideally, a person has done both. You you've been in a situation many times, like physically been there, and mentally you've gone through it and gotten yourself ready. And the highest level performers are actually the ones who've done both. They have the experience because they've gone through it, and they've mentally done what we call doing your homework. Doing your homework just means mentally preparing yourself for and rehearsing what you're going to go through, so that when it actually happens, you're not so thrown off because you already knew this was coming. And Seneca, Louis Seneca, he's the godfather of the concept that some of you know as Stoicism. And Stoicism is all about controlling your emotions, dealing with things from a dispassionate point of view. And Stoicism, one of the principles of Stoicism, Seneca talks about this in his book. It's called Letters from a Stoic. Any of you haven't read it, I suggest you read it. And those are the original writings that Seneca wrote that led to the foundation of what many people today, contemporarily, talk about when it comes to Stoicism. One of the things that he said was, something that you know was coming, even if it's something that you don't want, is better dealt with when you know it's coming than if you didn't know it was coming. In other words, if something hits you and surprises you, that disturbs you more than if it hits you, the exact same thing hits you, but you knew it was going to happen. So if you can see somebody about to punch you, you're in a boxing match and you see someone about to punch you and they do punch you, that doesn't hurt you as bad as the punch that you didn't see coming because you just weren't prepared. You weren't prepared for it. That's the one that knocks you out. So people get knocked out by punches that they don't see, not by the hardest punch necessarily. And I'm saying that metaphorically as well as literally. So this whole point here, the big point that I'm making in this whole video is that courage is a decision that you make because you know that something is going to come up. You know something's going to come in your life, and you are already mentally prepared for it. You mentally rehearsed it. And this is, man, I can't even remember who said it, but they were saying that every day a man, I can't remember who said this, and it was quoted from, Robert Greene quoted it in one of his books, but it wasn't Robert Greene who said it. He just put it in the book. He said, every man should every day meditate on his own death, so that by the time you get to the point of your actual death, you get to the end of your life, you've already meditated on the worst thing that could possibly happen to you so many times that there's nothing that can happen to you while you're still alive that's going to bother you or disturb you so much so as to disturb your equilibrium. And that's what courage is about. Whereas fear, again, is a reaction that happens with everybody, but courage is a choice that not everybody makes. Fear happens to everybody, courage is not. So that's what I want you to take from this. And with everything said here, Work on Your Game University is the place where I do my coaching. And the foundation of what we do, if you can't tell, is the mental game. The foundation is the mindset, getting control of your mental faculties, control of the way that you think and how you respond to things, not just react, but respond. And there's a difference between the two. Response is a choice that requires thinking. Reaction is something that happens automatically and involuntarily. Then we move on to the strategy, which is your plan of action, and to systematizing our behaviors, and then to accountability and implementation, make sure things are getting done the way that they're supposed to get done on a consistent basis. The whole purpose of what we do at the university is for high-level performers to do what they do consistently, and of course to maximize their returns and to produce results in what you are doing. Again, that's all at Work on Your Game University, and the link to that is workonyourgameuniversity.com. So if you want to join the university, just go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. The link is down below in the description to this video, and that's where you get to work with me directly. You get access to all of our courses, all of our trainings, all of the future stuff that we're going to be doing, because we're actually upgrading the university as we speak. We're going to be putting new things into the programs, new accesses, and all of that stuff in the university. So again, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is down below in the description to this video, and I'll see you all in university. Work on your game. Dre all day.